Good evening, and
damn, bro, the camera work is nasty over here. It's good as
busy lives.
How the f are they shooting this in real time and it still looks like it's a goddamn commercial? Whatever the filter is, it's working hard.
So listen, 1 week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family, and the future of this country we love. And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division. Many of you watching have probably already cast your ballots.
Why would they clap after chaos and division, dude?
Still considering who to vote for, or whether you'll vote at all. So tonight, I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election. Look, we know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election. An election that he knew he lost. It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Her aura is actually unmatched. Holy. What?
Let me say, I recognize.
Why do we do hogwatch like every day only to have the president, the presidential candidate be like, we got to hug and kiss Republicans. And then people go, oh, her aura. I don't believe that that's a real person, by the way, or they're being sarcastic.
I spent most of my career outside of Washington, D.C. So I know that not all the good ideas come from here. I am not afraid of tough fights against bad actors.
I'm lived up on America.
Interest. Because for decades, as a prosecutor and a top law enforcement officer of our biggest state,
you are going to seethe when Trump wins a landslide. Let's say that does happen. You still are probably going to end up yourself when you realize that like locking up migrants and trans people is not actually going to fix any of the underlying problems. It's not going to cause you to get pussy, consensually especially. It's not going to cause your family to think that you're brilliant and not a pathetic loser dead ender. And inevitably, you're going to come to that conclusion all on your own. Fix your life. If you are Trump 2024 pilled, then you're like openly demonstrating that you want awful shit in this country. Surprisingly, even more awful shit than the Democrats are advocating for. So yeah, I have no issue being very honest with people like that. Many of them came to that conclusion after 4 years of Donald Trump. They realized like, oh, none of the things that I thought were going to make my life better actually occurred. You can cry about that all day, every day, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to look at a dude who's like, I love the fascism that Trump represents and then be nice to them.
If elected,
you're crying?
On day one, if elected, Donald Trump would walk
let people vote for who they want.
An enemies list.
Yeah, dude. Let people vote for Adolf Hitler, dude. You're crying. You're crying. Let people vote for Adolf Hitler, or you're crying.
Of what I will get done for the American people.
Hasan, your level of aggression indicates a very probable Trump win, just my observation. Deborah's not coming back, folks. Your wife is not going to come back when Donald Trump becomes president. And the more you chirp about like Donald Trump being the great white hope or whatever the more people are going to stop calling you. There's a reason why your family, your immediate family members don't want to have Thanksgiving with you no more. That's because your vibes are horrendous.
Our priority as a nation 4 years ago was to end the pandemic and rescue the economy. Now, our biggest challenge is to lower costs that were rising even before the pandemic and that are still too high. I get it. I still remember our mother sitting at that yellow Formica table, late at night, cup of tea in hand, a pile of bills in front of her, trying to make it all work. And I've heard from so many of you who are facing even greater financial pressures. Donald Trump's answer to you is the same as it was the last time. Another $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. And this time, he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported. Think about it. Clothes, food, toys.
The only good thing that the Trump tariffs would do is destroy the Trump merch economy. Like all of the Trump merch stores that rely on overseas merchandise, garment production would inevitably collapse because they would never be able to pay the tariff. And that's the one positive of this entire process is that like they would suffer. And honestly, great.
Donald Trump would deliver tax cuts to his billionaire donors. I will deliver tax cuts to working people and the middle class. I will make sure you have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. Because I believe in honoring the dignity of work. I will enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries.
True. It would also destroy drop shippers too. So you're cooked if you're a drop shipper. Oh my God, 100% of drop shippers and 100% of Trump merch store owners vote for Donald Trump. He's directly cooking his base.
Sure that hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. I'll never forget how our mother saved up and how excited she was when she could finally afford to buy our first home. I remember how excited she was. And I know that owning a home is not only a measure of financial security, it's about the pride of your hard work. And as president, I will fight to help first-time home buyers with your down payment, take on the companies that are jacking up rents, and build millions of new homes. For years, we have heard excuses about why America can't build enough housing. Enough with the excuses. I'm going to cut the red tape and work with the private sector and local governments to speed up building and get it done.
Oh.
And the cost of housing is
deregulation
on middle-class
private
families.
sector.
I've met so many
I love the private
people who
sector.
have a
I
natural
fucking
desire to
come.
parent their children
I come
well.
when I think about real estate developers. I nut every time we cut some red tape. Let's go. I fucking love deregulation. Oh, I'm a deregulation voter. Are you a small business? I love small businesses. Tell me more about how you're a small business. Tell me about how your mom was a small business. Kamala, I love you. Whoa! The thing that I hate about Donald Trump is that he's not serious about deporting all the migrants. Kamala will do it. Let's go.
In the sandwich generation, who are raising young children and taking care of a parent. That is immoral, and Trump's not done. He would ban abortion nationwide.
Bro, it's crazy that this speech is literally identical to every other speech that she has given so far. Like, come on. You gotta do something different, dude. Like, you've spent 30, 40, 50 million dollars on these like focus tested, means tested policies that you are advocating for that are nowhere near meeting the expectations that massive chunks of voters want, and you're still running with them. At a certain point, you have to realize, like, maybe we got to spice it up a little bit.
On another subject, politicians have got to stop treating immigration as an issue to scare up votes in an election, and instead treat it as the serious challenge that it is, that we must finally come together to solve. I will work with Democrats and Republicans to sign into law the border security bill that Donald Trump killed. When I was Attorney General of a border state, I saw the chaos and violence caused by transnational criminal organizations that I took on. And when I am president, we will quickly remove those who arrive here unlawfully, prosecute the cartels, and give Border Patrol the support they so desperately need.
I wasn't off base when I said the deportation thing. Like that, go back to the earlier rant that I was doing as a joke, and then match it up against what Kamala Harris just said.
I've lived the promise of America. I've spent my life fighting for the people who have been hurt and counted out, but never stopped believing that in our country, anything is possible. I've lived the promise of America, and I see the promise of America in all of you. In all of you. I see it in the young people who are voting for the first time, who are determined to live free from gun violence and to protect our planet and to shape the world they inherit. I see
36K chat of cynicism and negativity. Damn, you're right, dude. People in here should be listening to her talk about how she's going to have the most strongest, most lethal military, and how she's going to deport those who are illegally here. As a Democrat running for president against Donald Trump, should be excited at the prospect. You're right. I don't know how you can look at this, even if you're voting for Kamala Harris. I don't know how you can look at this and fucking be like, yeah, it's not good at all, as a matter of fact. Does this speak to you? Actually, it doesn't speak to me at all. 75,000 people apparently went out there to listen to her. Like, why fucking yeah, when you don't have proof over what you're upset over? I'm fully for her, and yeah, no shit, it's not good. But choose a lane to be upset over. You can't be a Kamala writer up until 6 months ago when it was better for you to be a negative cunt and going middle road. Are you hallucinating? Have you just like closed your eyes and plugged your ears for the past 6 months? You think I have no issues with the way that Kamala Harris has run her campaign? You think I have no issues with her legislative agenda? Even before Kamala Harris, a lot of the arguments that I have for Kamala Harris are actually arguments that I directed towards Joseph Robinette Brandon. That's the ironic situation here, is that, like, not only did I dislike Kamala Harris in 2019.
Yeah. Kamala Harris's campaign is done. It's over. We knew that it was going to happen. It was inevitable. She was weak. She was terrible. Who cares? Yeah. Officer down.
But also, a lot of my criticism towards Kamala Harris has been her rushing towards this supposed centrist Brandonian position. Also, I love that you openly said you're fully for her, and yeah, no fucking this speech is not good. So you're directly advocating for the thing that I'm saying. There are plenty of people in this community that already early voted for Kamala Harris. They don't want Donald Trump to win. They went out and they plugged their nose and they fucking voted for Kamala Harris. And they're still just as disappointed as you are. The difference between you and them, on the other hand, is that they're not trying to fantasize about an alternative future, an alternative reality. They're recognizing what is going on. They're recognizing the problem. I think this speech was the exact same speech that she's delivered time and time again, nothing different. And clearly that message has not actually been all that successful. They've been pumping every TV station with ads in all of these key districts, reiterating these positions over and over again. And it hasn't been good. It hasn't been positive at all. Here's something really important from, of course, friend of the show, one of my favorite authors, one of my favorite journalists, Osita Nwanevu. He said, whatever happens next week, Democrats are eventually going to have to contend with the fact that some of the most pivotal voters in the electorate, including more and more non-white voters, think our political norms and institutions are bad and have considered Trump on that basis. This was the underlying resentment that people had towards Hillary Clinton in 2016, something that the Democratic Party has basically brushed aside. Like they forgot, as though 2016 never happened. And I don't just mean Donald Trump won in 2016. I mean their underlying resentment towards our institutions existed in 2016. That's why that Donald Trump won. Someone wanted to blow up the system. That's why they took a shot in the dark and went with Donald Trump. And the Democrats ignored it. And here we are, still ignoring it. This is really interesting from Zach Carter, another great writer, a columnist for Slate. He says, very interesting that so much of the persuasion game is focused on conservatives who think norms and institutions are good and making them comfortable with the idea of switching parties. Do you not recognize what's going on? We are staring down the barrel of fascism. Right-wingers are ripping everything apart and using the instability to say shit is fucked up. And more people are on board with shit is fucked up. Democrats are desperately trying to hold on to a coalition of people who are like, it's not that fucked up. This election cycle was worse than every other election that I've covered. It is genuinely terrifying that the Democrats are like, no, it's fine. It's not that bad. Come on. My anger and my resentment for the Democratic Party will always be because of their capitulation to the right. It will always revolve around their framing of right-wing values and right-wing issues with a liberal veneer. That is what is fucking frustrating about this. I agree, but I worry that the problem is that many in the key U.S. political norms and institutions are in fact bad, and there's no way to fix most of the worst ones without a constitutional amendment. The general feeling of cynicism is right. The prevailing diagnoses and solutions these voters are hearing are obviously terrible. It would be ideal if the Democrats began offering others rather than a return to politics as usual. Democrats love running the appeasement route to right-wing charlatans, to like straightforward fascists, okay? They do it. They do it over and over and over and over and over again. And then when they're done doing that, they turn around and they say, what do you expect? They will call her a communist. Well, guess what, dumbass? They're calling her a communist anyway. The fuck are you talking about? Now listen to what the CNN panelists have to say.
Coming now, the former president speaking tonight in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which according to the mayor is home to more than 35,000 Puerto Ricans. 2 nights ago at Madison Square Garden, one of his warm-up speakers likened Puerto Rico to, his words, an island of garbage. The so-called comedian also aimed racist slurs at Latinos, Black Americans, and Jews. Today, the former president told ABC News, quote, I don't know him. Someone put him up there. I don't know who he is, which, by the way, is what he always says about people he's desperately trying to distance himself from. And about the rally, which saw other speakers as well spewing out.
This is the real reason why I still think Kamala Harris is going to win, in spite of running a dog campaign consistently and reliably, trying to desperately lose. This is the real reason.
That was the greatest.
Because people can fucking hear Donald Trump.